every so often, I think it's imperative to visit the past, consult the future, and determine about what is going to happen today. That's exactly what I want to talk about in this episode of the Range Minded Podcast. We're going to talk about the podcast. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Range Minded Podcast, episode 270, the state of the podcast. Stay tuned. Just like I mentioned in the intro of this episode, I think it's important to see where we've been to understand the future of the show. Now, the very first episode of the Range Minded Podcast aired sometime in June of 2018. And a lot has happened since that very first episode. If you were one of the OG listeners, you would remember that I wasn't flying solo. Nope, there was three of us. There was Mark, there was Ricky, and myself. Now, the three of us brought a dynamic to the show that has never been paralleled since then. We were all very different individuals. In fact, I'm sure I was different now than I am today. Perhaps I'm a little bit easier on the mic now than I was, so long ago. There was a camaraderie. There was a lot of fun. There was some joking. In fact, there was one episode, I'm not even sure if it aired, where I laughed almost the entire episode because Mark was playing with sound effects that you couldn't hear, the listener couldn't hear, but I could hear in my headphones. And it was the most ridiculously funniest thing that I had dealt with for a long, long time. And it felt so good to laugh and be silly. I'm not even sure if that episode even aired, because that would have been sometime in 2018. That was one of those first probably 20 episodes. And we have gone a lot of different places during the tenure of this show. We've had live broadcasts at Independence Indoor Shooting, where the show actually originated from, the indoor range there in Meridian, Idaho. We have gone to SHOT Show. We have gone to a couple times to SHOT Show, actually. We've gone on tours. Right, we went and visited Federated Ordnance and PWS, but I don't think I took you guys on the PWS tour. That was more of a DL tour, which was still pretty rad and amazing. Primary Weapons, the stuff that they do inside their shop is amazing, actually. But as time progressed on, we lost Ricky and we lost Mark. And there was a time period where I wasn't sure what exactly was going to happen with the show. Was I going to carry the torch and keep going on? Do I just let the show die? What was the next phase of the show? And there was a lot of contemplating. In fact, if again you were a long-term listener, you would have remembered that there was probably 6 or 8 months where there was no Range Minded Podcast. There was no show. And that was kind of frustrating, right? You spend a lot of time, a lot of mental energy on something that you've created, and you just kind of shelf it. And it was tough, right? It was something that always gnawed at me. The whole hiatus from the show just kind of ate away at something inside of me that I didn't want to leave unattended. And those first few shows back on the wagon were quite difficult for me, honestly. Felt very awkward, very weird. It was just myself, no Mark, no Ricky, just Steve. And I had to do everything myself. I had to understand how to edit, which I didn't do a lot of editing. Let's be honest. Those shows were probably pretty at best. But I had to learn how to do it all. Now, I did rely a lot on Mark. Mark was the producer of the show, basically. He took care of all the editing and uploading and art and all that stuff, which was a huge benefit for the show, because then I could really concentrate on content, and Ricky could kind of concentrate on what he wanted to bring into the show, and Mark could take care of all the behind the scenes stuff, which is, man, it was so much handier back then. then it was all on me, right? It got to be not so much stressful, but it was just more work. And not that it's a ton of work. Really, making the show isn't not a ton of work. It's time more than anything. And time is something that you sacrifice for something else, right? Time is valuable because they don't make any more time. You have what time you have, and then that's it. It checks out. So from 2018 to 2025, technically, if you look on the books, there's, I think, 274 episodes. In reality, this is 270. But I've released some half mag episodes is what I called them. Oh, man, how could I have forgot? I mean, I'm sorry. Boy, Nick, I am terribly, terribly sorry, Nick. In the meantime, the hiatus, we picked up Nick, who started as a guest. I was a customer of Hoftac Holsters before they were a customer of ours, I guess you could say. We brought on Nick. He was a guest more than once. I brought him on as a co-host. And that worked for a while, several months. And then it kind of slowed down with Nick. And I honestly, I don't know why. It was probably more me than anything, I guess. Nick's very, very busy, mind you. He's got a very successful holster company. And I think deep down I felt greedy about taking Nick away from something that was making him money to do something that almost felt like a burden. Like I assumed it was a burden to Nick. Nick and I are still friends, I hope. Maybe not after this when he realizes I completely forgot about the few episodes that we had Nick on as a co-host. Nick has a lot, like he did offer a ton to the show, an absolute ton to the show. And I will never discount that. And I will never say that, I did it all myself, because that is not true. But here we are in February of 2025, and a lot has changed from 18 to 25. Man, I feel like I got like a hair or something on my nose. I don't know what it is. A lot has changed over the years, right? A ton. Since then, honestly, since past the Nick phase, the last, 2024 really, I finally was able to get out of my own pocket, right? I was able to get some patches out, the 4 different morale patches. I mean, it's obvious. You look over there. I love patches. So I was able to get some patches made, which was in hopes to create a way for the show to generate income. I've given away more patches than I've sold, honestly, which is all right. I mean, it's not all right to my wife. It's all right by me. But here we are, 2025, a month in, and we really need to evaluate what the show is and what it's going to become. And we need to set some parameters and some goals. I guess to be fair, to help you understand why I'm talking about the show the way that I am, is I had a really interesting conversation with a friend of mine. And he knows who he is. If he's listening to the show, he'll know who he is. We talked a lot. I mean, hours today on the phone. Very good self-reflecting conversations. We've been friends for a very long time. And he helped me kind of see my life the way I used to see it. Meaning I used to be really driven and production oriented and getting things done, right? And I've noticed I've kind of slowed down. I've kind of left that perspective behind, and I shouldn't have. And he's helped me kind of see my life in a way that, man, I got to get back where I was. I've got to be able to get back to the point where I know I can do the things that I know I can do, and I got to keep convincing myself that I can't do those things. A lot of self-reflection. It was a great conversation. Maybe some point, it's not really germane to this show. It doesn't really pertain to Range Minded Podcast and the Second Amendment. It really pertains to believing in yourself and trusting yourself and allowing yourself to progress, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So that's what's kind of stirred this whole conversation up about the state of the show, the state of the podcast speech here. So let's talk about the now. We've talked about yesterday. We've talked about the past. We need to talk about today. And I don't just mean February 11th. I mean today in general. We will never get better if we're so focused on our yesterdays that we'll forget about all those tomorrows. And if we don't consider all the tomorrows, all we're going to have is yesterdays. We need to start thinking about the future and being focused on something. That's what this show's about. So I've decided to revitalize and recommit myself and the ethos of this show to what it is. Now I want to share with something. I don't have it memorized because I just rewrote it. In fact, I don't even know if we had a mission statement back in the day, but I wrote or rewrote a mission statement. All right, here's the new mission statement for the Range Minded Podcast. Empowering the next generation of Second Amendment stewards through engaging, educational, and thought-provoking content on firearms, self-defense, and constitutional rights. That is the mission statement for the Range Minded Podcast. Now, with that being said, every episode that I generate from today on will be based off that new mission statement. That's my commitment to you guys. I was really thinking today about what the value of this show is. Like, what am I offering my listeners? Because I feel like it's a lot of flavored air in some episodes. Some of you may not agree with that comment or even understand what I mean by that content or that comment. I mean, sometimes I feel like my shows are just fluffy and not meaty, not something of real substance. And I hope that's not the case, but sometimes I feel that way. And most people that are creators feel that way about the things that they create. I want to share with you this as well, okay? When it comes to talking about what benefit does the Range Minded Podcast offer its listeners, I had to have an outside view, and for what it's worth, ChatGPT, at least it's something, but I asked ChatGPT, this is a full disclosure, what benefit does Range Minded offer its listeners? And Chat gave me 5 bullet points with little things underneath it. And hopefully this is true. Only you guys can tell me if this is accurate. This is number 1. Chat tells me this. The number 1 thing that the Range Minded Podcast offers its listeners is education on firearms and self-defense. Hopefully that's true. He said this. I'm assuming it's a he. It could be a she. Who knows? It said this. Provides practical training tips on firearm safety, marksmanship, and self-defense tactics. I don't think we've actually hit on that. A little bit. Once in a while we do talk about stuff a little bit, but I haven't really jumped on top of. We haven't really talked and visualized tactics and training tips. We've talked about them. And maybe that's something I need to bring more, content of me doing hands-on things. Maybe that's something that we need to do. Breaks down real-world scenarios to help listeners apply knowledge in their daily lives. I do feel like I do that because I bring a lot to the table. We do talk about a lot of legalese and some philosophizing on other stuff. He also says interviews experts like Tyler Tharp, which it's funny you pulled that up, to share firsthand experiences. Yeah, we have had some good guests in the past, and I want to have more guests in the future. That's another thing I'm going to commit to you guys is to bring other people in and not just my sexy, sultry voice. All right, the second bullet point Chat told me was constitutional and legal awareness. Yeah, I think I agree with this one. It says helps listeners understand historical and legal foundations of the Second Amendment. I do agree with that. Thank you, chat. Next one was discuss major gun laws, court cases, and what they mean for everyday Americans. I try to do that because I want to digest something and give you a legal-based, or at least a knowledge-based opinion on these things. I try to do that, and hopefully that comes across that way. Next thing chat said is under that constitutional legal awareness is covers proposed policies like national reciprocity to keep listeners informed. I hope I do that as well. The number 3 thing chat said was challenging and enlightening conversations. It says encourages critical thinking about gun rights, personal responsibility, and self-defense. I hope we've had those conversations, and we will have those conversations more and more in the future because that topic is always relevant. It's always there. It's always important. Tackles controversial topics like abolishing the ATF and government overreach. And yes, the ATF at minimal needs to be neutered, at maximum needs to be gone. I still feel that way, and I will always feel that way. This is kind of funny that it brought this up because a long time ago I asked ChatGPT this question. Engages listeners with thought-provoking debates, including the legendary pineapple on pizza controversy. I find that hilarious that it's kind of scary that it remembers these conversations, but it's pretty funny. Number 4 is building a pro 2A community, which I hope that is right. I always talk about the importance of taking people shooting and sharing the 2A with others. This fosters a space where gun owners, trainers, and advocates can connect, learn, and grow. I hope that is taking place. I hope so. Encourages responsible gun ownership and civic duty and cultural heritage. I don't know about the cultural heritage part, but I guess gun ownership is part of the American culture, so I guess I agree with that statement. I hope that's true. Inspires listeners to take action, whether through training, advocacy, or mentorship. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. And hopefully you understand when I share that mantra about taking somebody shooting, that it's not just nothing. I hope you understand that that is key to the future of the Second Amendment, is sharing your rights with other people who may not be on the same level of determination as you are when it comes to your rights. Number 5 in his bullet points here, I'm just assuming chat is a dude, just by the way it phrased these things, is preserving the Second Amendment for future generations. Us? That's weird that it put it that way. We'll just say preserving the Second Amendment for future generations. Reinforces that the Second Amendment is about more than just guns. It's about freedom, self-defense, and protection against tyranny. Yes, 100%. It's been listening to my shows. Empowers the next generation to be responsible gun owners, educators, and defenders of liberty. I hope so. I hope that comes across in every episode. And then chat said this, final thoughts. Range Minded Podcast isn't just about guns. It's about mindset, responsibility, and the duty to protect our rights for generations to come. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Now, I know ChatGPT is just a bot, right? It's just AI. Not really a bot. It's AI. So a lot of that stuff is just regurgitated for things that you've talked to in the past. But I'm hoping that it did kind of scan the interwebs and discover what things that I have talked about in the show. Again, the mission statement of the show. Let me click that window back up. Empowering the next generation of Second Amendment stewards through engaging, educational, and thought-provoking content on firearms, self-defense, and constitutional rights. I want to live to that mission statement. I want to share or take you along the journey of fulfilling that statement for you and others who will join the show. Next thing on my show notes here is plans for 2025. So I have a lot of things I want to do for 2025. I need to actually sit down and make goals for the things that I want to do for this year. I definitely want to try and hit GunCon again this year. I think that was a lot of fun. And hopefully I was able to get, actually I wasn't able to get a ton of content because I was having too much fun at GunCon. But I also really, really want to hit goals this year, which is GOA's thing, and that's in Tennessee. So we'll see how that goes. Right now, those are just wishes. Those really aren't goals. But I am committed, again, to following this new mission statement and producing content for you that is something substantive, having struggles speaking, important, and something that gives you the power that you need to make a resolve to keep going on your Second Amendment rights. Other things I want this show to do and become in 2025 is I want to be able to visit more manufacturers. I really want to start in Idaho. And I know I've said this for probably the last 4 years. The amount of two-way geared businesses in Idaho is staggering. There are so many two-way oriented businesses in this state. And this year I really want to make good efforts to go and visit some of these facilities and take you along. Just like we did with Federated Ordnance, where we walked through, took a tour with Joey. I thought that was so fun. And hopefully you guys that watched that episode felt the same way. Because it's not every day you get to visit an ammunition plant. That's pretty epic. So I have a goal I need to revisit. I've talked to Seekins Precision before, and they've said, yeah, it's cool, but I'm going to revisit them again and say, hey, these are the dates. I want to hammer down some dates where we're going to go to Seekins Precision up in Lewiston. And while I'm there, I might as well go visit Lone Wolf Precision, right? Or Lone Wolf Distributed. Lone Wolf. They make a lot of Glock parts and cool stuff, and they make their own firearms up there too, like Gen 3 clones. Great company up in Lewiston. Might as well be visiting both there. In fact, I believe CCI is still up there too, with CCI ammo. We might as well stop by there and take you along. And that's a great place to start. Then we'll hit some businesses in Boise. I really want to visit Odin again. I've visited them not with the show, but I think it's time that you guys get to see some good two-way businesses that are helping the community, that are serving the Second Amendment and preserving our rights. It's time to take you along and visit these places, because not a lot of people get to check these places out. So why not, right? Why not? Then obviously we're going to keep punching out some good quality content, stuff that you want to hear. Okay? Here's the next big, and this is a goal for this year. And this is something that I cannot do without you. It's physically impossible for me to make this happen by myself. My goal this year is to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube and Rumble. Now, you guys might think, well, you're just a small channel. Why am I wasting my time? Well, I know that doesn't seem like much to you, but that means a lot to me. I want to hit 1,000 subs this year. And if we go past that, freaking awesome. But that is my goal this year. So that again is something that I will not be able to do on my own. So I'm going to be talking about that from now on every episode this year, that I need your help in achieving this goal. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps me out a lot in the long run, because it gets my voice out farther. And that's what I want to be. I want to be a voice that is an advocate on my own, that's willing to speak the things that some of you aren't. I'm not scared to get out in public and share my thoughts about the Second Amendment. So yeah, there's the next one. All right, the next one on my bullet point. Content creators have this reputation, and it really depends on presentation, not reputation, of being shills, right? You're just talking about this product because they give you money, that kind of thing. Well, my show isn't that way, right? There's no advertising on my show, at least not yet. Maybe there will be at some point. I don't know. But as of right now, it is 100% self-funded. And that makes things really frustrating at times. You guys knew that last year I got sick and I was out of work and I was passing out randomly, and just things were just crazy. So that in itself put a strain on the old pocketbook. Nonetheless, I'm not begging for money right now. I'm just telling you, things get tight. And then when I make patches, especially 4 different patches, and then sell 1% of those patches and give most of them away, that's pretty bad business as well, just so you know. But I want to bring more merchandise available. Now, I'm going to hold off on like t-shirts and hats and that kind of thing, hoodies. Doesn't mean that I don't want to do that. I do want to do that. But that is not possible pre-1,000 subscribers. It's just not feasible. The show needs to start making its own money in order for me to bring those things to the plate. I do want to bring those things to the plate. But for now, I've got those patches. Those patches are available on the website, rangemindedpodcast.com. Now, as those patches sell, I have probably 30 patch designs that I want to do. They're all clever. They're all silly. Some of them maybe won't get made because they might be too much over the edge. Who knows? But I have all these designs that I want to create. I do want to create some kind of a patch store that has all these crazy patch designs and make them available for you guys. Because I know I'm not the only one that has this problem with patches. I know I am not the only person that has a patch addiction. And I want to facilitate that addiction to other people. So there are more patch designs in queue, but not in production yet. I have to sell more patches to justify making more patches. And I know you guys should be able to understand that, how that whole thing works. But as I hit my goal this year of 1,000 subs, hopefully well before the end of the year, that's when there'll be cool hat designs or shirt designs and not just range-minded logos. Like they'll have silly screen prints of something on the back or the front, silly stuff that just because I like quirky t-shirts and sweatshirts and stuff like that. So that stuff is in potential for this year. Hopefully it works out. Again, that all depends on you guys. Oh, next one is classes. So I am working on, with a buddy of mine, we're working kind of the wrinkles out on doing some firearms education classes in 2025. As of right now, we have 3 classes that we want to do. And maybe there'll be more. If I could teach more classes, then honestly, if I could teach 2 a month, that'd be rad. I absolutely love teaching, and maybe that'll happen too later on this year. But as of right now, we have a potential of 3 classes that are going to be awesome, by the way. They're not just boring pistol classes. They're going to be fun. So keep in mind of those. Hopefully they work out. They may not work out. I don't know. But there's a potential for 3 classes in the eastern Idaho, southeast Idaho area. If it works out, maybe we'll push them out a little bit farther. But that's just the way that is right now. Boy, I don't know if you could hear that. I don't know if the dogs are playing with their toys or something. Something just got dropped upstairs. That is actually, that wasn't on my list, but I'm going to put that in my list. One of my goals this year is to update the studio. What you can't see, like right now, all you see is flags and sticker walls and patch walls. That's all you see behind me. But in reality, this is just an unfinished space in my basement with some silly lights in the ceiling to create mood lighting, right? Some ambiance, if you will. I have a studio in my mind that I want to create and have here. So it looks a little bit more professional, a little cooler. That honestly is not something that's a priority for me right off the bat. That'll be something, if it does happen, will be later on this year, probably the end of Q4. Just something that I want to do. I have an idea for a desk that I can do some gun reviews and stuff on, that I'm going to make that desk, but I actually have all the parts. I just need to put it together. It's a completely custom made by me little gun counter thing. It'll look pretty rad. So that is something that is kind of a loose goal that I have for the end of this year, is a new studio. Okay, we already talked about the value that I think the show brings to you guys. Let me say this, and this was we'll probably close up the show here pretty soon. So I know this is a shorter episode, which you guys probably don't mind, unless I monologue for the next 30 minutes. We'll see what happens. But let me say this, because this is truly important, and I hope you feel my genuine love for you guys. The whole reason why I keep bringing this show up every week, why I keep producing an episode almost every week, I mean, there's sometimes I've missed a week or two, is for you guys. I feel like I have something to share that's a unique perspective, that's something new that you hear. That's really, honestly, one of the reasons why you don't hear me talking about Trump's executive order on the Second Amendment or Pam Bondi's stuff on this or whatever, is that stuff's already being talked about. I don't feel like it's important that you hear the same thing as everybody else is talking about from me. I want it to be something different. It's just like if you were turning on the TV, are you going to watch the exact same show but different actors talking about the exact same dialogue, the exact same show content? No. It's something different, and that's what I want to bring to you guys, because I care about your time. Because I know your time is valuable. I know how my time is valuable to me, and your time is at least just as valuable. I care about you guys. I care about your future, about your freedom, about the freedom of your kids and grandkids or your spouse or your dog. I mean, whatever. You guys are valuable to me. And I know it's not something that may not make sense to some of you. If there's content creators out there, if there's folks that sell, salesmen kind of feel the same way about their customers. They care about who they serve. And I really look at this as a service to you guys. I'm sacrificing my time to help embolden you guys or educate you guys or make you guys feel included in the 2A community. I hope you guys really understand how much I do care about you, about what you want to hear, about what you want to feel about of a topic. And it's something I need to work on even more to help understand how to engage you guys better. Or maybe I am. I don't know. I don't get a lot of feedback. Once in a while, somebody will share a comment, but it's pretty rare. That's why I was hoping when I meet this goal of 1,000 listeners, that the conversations will take place in the comment sections. We need to come together as like-minded Americans. We need to have these conversations, these hard conversations on the Second Amendment, on red flag laws, on gun rights, on the NFA, on whatever, attorneys on retainer. Honestly, I'm trying to avoid that whole debacle right now because that's ridiculous right now. But you are the reason that I keep making this show. You, that guy sitting right there. Even if you are on the toilet listening to me, your time is valuable. And I want to make sure that the product that I'm giving you, the service that I'm giving you, is something that you feel is worth it. That's why I rewrote the mission statement. That's why I made this exact episode, was to recommit to you. To let you know that I do know that you're out there. That you do know somebody cares about you, about your freedom. That I'm not just some talking head shilling for some, box full of tactical cool stuff or an online gunsmithing degree or whatever. I care about you. And that's why I want to take you and bring you on my firearms journey. We're all on a journey in the 2A community, all of us. Some of the folks on the path are a little arrogant, a little egotistical, a little full of themselves. I don't want to be that guy. When you talk to those people, they don't have time to talk and shake your hand and listen how your day is. I want to be that guy. Not that guy. I want to be the guy that's there for you. I want to take you on a two-way journey that brings us all to freedom together. That's the point. Anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I feel important for you guys to know before I close out the show. I guess this. This is the last thing I'm going to share with you, because this is the close of this episode. I have a goal to reach 1,000 listeners by the end of 2025. I need your help to get there. If you've liked what you've listened to, if you've made it this far, obviously you must. And if you haven't subscribed yet to the show, hit the subscribe button and share it with a friend. If you feel like there's something that you want me to talk about, a place that you want me to visit, a product that you want me to really dive into and look at, put that in the comment section. Let's have that conversation. If you want to help support the Range Minded Podcast beyond just the like and the share, if you jump on the website, you can find the 4 patch designs that I have there. If you want to support other ways financially, which would be fantastic, I would never say no. I keep forgetting. I keep saying I'm going to link my link tree, which has a way to donate money. That would be great. I'm not shilling for money. You don't have to, but it'd be fantastic. It'd be very gratefully received. The equipment I have is the original equipment from 2018, and it's kind of starting to show its age. So if you want to help out there, super awesome. You don't have to, but it would be awesome. You guys rock. Together we are the future of the Second Amendment, and we are in this together. Until next time. Make sure, though, that you take somebody shooting and that you always stay range-minded. Peace out.
And on the third day, God created the Remington bolt-action rifle so that man could fight the dinosaurs and the homosexuals.